every single client that we work with, we say, you guys have to do us a favor. You need to go find some raw beef suet, some raw bone marrow, or some good pastured eggs. I think that having those good raw animal fat sources are like critical to someone who is interested in getting more energy or gaining more weight on the carnivore diet, because you ultimately need a higher fat approach to accomplish that. And we definitely started with like just plain bodybuilding about probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then
10 years ago?
Yeah.
Dang.
Like I said, we've been in health and fitness for a long time.
It's always been so important to us. And in terms of, it's crazy.
So she had like the constipation. I had the brain fog too and the fatigue, but I really thought that was normal. I didn't even think of it as a symptom. I thought it was just a byproduct of being a student and just like being tired during the day. My other symptoms that I started to see as abnormal though would show up on my skin. So I'd get a lot of rashes. I'd get the butterfly rash along like my nose.
Everyone, I am here with the legendary Strong Sistas. They are influencers in the carnivore community. If you have not heard of them, you live under a rock, because I have seen them pretty much since the existence of my understanding of any sort of carnivore diet. And it took us a few weeks to get this scheduled, but we finally were able to kind of get together. And I'm so grateful that you two could make some time to share with the Carnivore Kurt community what you two are all about, your story, and what you are doing. And so on this episode, we're going to talk a bit about the Strong Sistas and who you two are. So Ashley and Sarah are on the call. Ashley's to my left. Hopefully she's going to be on the left of the video. She's wearing the glasses. And then Sarah, the younger sister. I would love for you two to explain. We met at was it PaleoFX last year? Yeah, in Austin, PaleoFX? KetoCon. We met in June at KetoCon through a mutual friend, Paul Saladino, Dr. Saladino, Carnivore MD. And we jumped in the Barton Springs together and we hung out, and I helped them get a little bit more Texas sun.
Yes.
From up in Illinois.
If I recall, we had to encourage you to jump in the spring.
Heck yes.
You were a little chickening out, so you got that flipped.
We're gonna edit that out, because obviously that's not true at all. I do cold plunges regularly now, but yeah. So okay, cool. So I guess Ashley, let's start with you, and let's just hear, in a couple minutes, what's your story? Why are you such a big influencer in the carnivore space, and like what got you into this thing?
Well, so health and nutrition have always been a huge part of Sarah and I's life. And so if we flash back about 5 years ago, we were really into the if it fits your macros, high carb approach, because that was kind of the main thing at the time. And I guess it still is now. I don't know. I'm kind of far removed from that now. But we were definitely doing the higher carb, plant-based, honestly, not really processed food at all. So it was definitely like a healthy, plant-based, if it fits your macros approach. And over time, symptoms just started to develop and build. And we finally reached a point of like, our health kind of sucks right now. Like we're suffering and we're in our young 20s, and this just isn't really fair. So some of the symptoms that I was dealing with, I had always dealt with chronic constipation. So it's very common for me to go like a solid week without pooping. And I'd been to many doctors who just told me, oh, no, just more fiber, more Miralax, take some laxatives. And like, honestly, all of those just made me more and more constipated. So I was pretty fed up there. But then things like brain fog, chronic fatigue, and Raynaud's and other symptoms like that started building up for me. And Sarah and I moved in together, and we actually started to develop these symptoms together. And that led, so she had very similar symptoms, but hers were definitely more on the surface, if you want to talk about some of those.
So she had like the constipation. I had the brain fog too and the fatigue, but I really thought that was normal. I didn't even think of it as a symptom. I thought it was just a byproduct of being a student and just like being tired during the day. My other symptoms that I started to see as abnormal though would show up on my skin. So I'd get a lot of rashes. I'd get the butterfly rash along like my nose, and then dealing with some other skin issues on my face like eczema and other unexplainable rashes. I had very poor circulation in my hands and my feet, so my skin would almost turn like a purplishly orange. Like I looked dead. And so it was really right. It was weird. And
in addition, we also dealt with some like mental issues. So I definitely suffered from like a lot of very frequent panic attacks and insomnia.
And then like depression where like it again, thought it was normal because like everybody goes through it, And so, and that was sarcastic for anybody who doesn't catch that.
So that some of those symptoms led Sarah to go to a rheumatologist to get some blood work done.
So I initially got checked out because I had enough of looking like I had dead arms. And so I went to the doctor and they didn't say anything about it, but finally I got blood work done, and that got me referred to a rheumatologist who found that my blood work showed elevated ANA levels and symptoms aligning with lupus. So when you have an elevated ANA level, it's basically just like, hey, you've got some sort of autoimmune condition going on. We're going to like pay attention to your other blood work and your other symptoms to see what exactly we could diagnose you with. But for now, here's some prescription medications to alleviate your symptoms. So it was really that Band-Aid approach, which is so common in Western medicine. I was really lucky that my mom was with me at the doctor, and she was not okay with like an 18-year-old taking prescription medications. And so she led us along our journey of getting into like holistic health
and finding our own health.
Yes. So that led us to several different more naturopathic doctors, which they were a good step in the right direction, but they just weren't the route we were going to take. I still think it's very rare to find a doctor who supports a keto and carnivore lifestyle. And so they didn't push us that way. They kind of pushed us more towards like, get your nutrients with these specific vegetables and like super fruits. And that's so common, but it wasn't going to work for us. I don't know who it works for. So
we were unsatisfied. So we said, let's do our own research. That brought us to the idea of fasting. Mm-hmm. So we did a lot of time restricted feeding and prolonged fasts. And then we eventually got sick of that cyclical daily switching out of glucose-based metabolism versus ketosis. And so we were like, all right, let's just jump into keto. So the fasting naturally led us to keto. But when we were keto, we were very much plant-based keto. Yes. Not really eating much meat. Our main sources of protein were eggs and egg whites. So we like to say that we were kind of like vegans.
We were vegan.
Plant heavy with eggs.
Vegan lifestyle with some egg whites.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
lots of avocados.
We did avocados, yeah.
Okay.
So I still like avocados, but I don't eat them anymore.
So that approach definitely helped with like brain fog and relieving some like chronic fatigue, but we still had a lot of symptoms. My constipation did not go away at all. So that's what eventually led me to carnivore. My friend suggested, hey, you have tried everything. Why don't you just give carnivore a try for your constipation? And I was like, let's do it. So I jumped right in. I went from a plant-based keto approach straight into a beef-only with salt for a full 30 days. I was like, I'll just give this a month. And the rest is history.
Yeah. People always ask me just really quickly that like, what difference did you see when you went from keto to carnivore? And keep in mind, we were plant-based keto, so we weren't eating a lot of meats, we were eating a lot of plants. But for her digestion actually went backwards for a while. I think she went 21 days without pooping.
When I first started carnivore.
I had the standard like diarrhea, everything's flushing out digestion. But the thing that changed for me was overall inflammation everywhere. Yeah. So inflammation significantly reduced in my hands, in my joints, in my face.
And bloating went away.
When I first started carnivore, that was the first time in my life where I like no longer felt like I absolutely needed to wear makeup. And so that's been huge for me because I feel like a lot of things that girls try to cover up is the inflammation they're experiencing and the under eye circles, which is just a product of just your diet really and being tired.
Yeah.
But that was the main thing for me that changed, where I gained so much confidence in myself because I no longer felt like I had to hide all these things that were going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's wild. Do you, so I know I met you guys in June of 2019. When did you start carnivore?
March of 2019.
Okay. So you started in March. Okay. And I had started it.
I started in May, I think. June.
Man. So I was like 6 months into carnivore when I met you guys before you even started it. Cause I started in, September of 2018, I guess. And did you get into it? Did you know Saladino like right when you started it, or did you kind of meet him through the social channels, or you kind of had seen him?
Yeah. So honestly, Dr. Saladino was like one of the huge influences for why I finally was like, this is an okay approach. Like I feel comfortable with this approach because I'm in engineering, I'm in science, I'm deep in science. And so I do not take any approach just out of the blue, I want to really dive into the research of it. And listening to a lot of his podcasts was finally like, okay, this makes sense. Let's go down this journey. So he was definitely a huge influence in getting me convinced that this is an optimal way of life.
Were you guys were Strong Sisters for how long on Instagram together? Like, when did you start that sort of character?
That character.
That personality.
Oh, it has evolved.
That social personality is very, very much a real thing.
It has really evolved.
It was at first my like personal account, and then we switched it to Strong Sisters. Because like she said, we've always been into health and nutrition. Granted, that's evolved a lot. So like we'll look back at our content from like 2 years ago, and it's just like, oh, cringe. Like, don't listen to me then.
Cringe.
It's a long evolution. And so I think the Strong Sisters back in the day, I think our name changed quite a few times, but Strong Sisters really came into play, I think, when we started to promote like keto, but then it really took a hold and the confidence was there enough to keep pushing it when we started carnivore, because our lives changed. Like we really, when we were keto, we were feeling better, but not enough to like go on the story every single day and tell people how great we're feeling. That's the difference with carnivore.
You develop a sense of confidence when you regain control of your health, and carnivore really helped us regain control. Once
we felt that way, that is, I think, where Strong Sisters just like kind of started, because we were able to be ourselves in front of the camera and really embrace that and really tell people how we're feeling and what we've done for our health without feeling like we're shortchanging somebody or lying.
Nothing back. We don't hold nothing back.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been doing the lifting thing? Like at a more kind of like pretty serious level? And I guess that's like a general term, but like I look at you guys and you have a coach, and a lot of times on the story on Instagram, you'll see that you're lifting and you've got like really specific protocols that you're working through. Like, how long have you been kind of like regimented in doing that?
Yeah, so I'd say we definitely started with like just plain bodybuilding about probably 10 years ago. Yeah. And then
10 years ago?
Yeah.
Dang.
And then like I said, we've been in health and fitness for a long time.
It's always been so important to us. And in terms of, it's crazy. But
I think that actually like, okay, so like she was saying 10 years ago.
And then so bodybuilding focus. And then we definitely went into like very much powerlifting focus. Just powerlifting. So like eat a lot, lift a lot of weights, let's get big. And then now we're definitely like a mixture. So we like to call it power building. So like, we start off our workouts with like a main lift. So squat, bench, or deadlift. And then we do like bodybuilding accessories. So that's our favorite way to train right now. We feel very accomplished after leaving the gym, and there's something so empowering about being strong. And so that's something that we've really held on to, and it's part of our Strong Sisters name, right?
During the eat a lot, lift a lot phase, that was when we really got into if it's your macros and eating the high carbs. And
400 grams.
That is when like
insulin
resistance was real. Like we tried, so with powerlifting, you have to cut for meat. So you have to meet your weight class, right?
Yeah.
You have to meet your weight class. And it became like nearly impossible to lose any weight, even at like extremely low calories. This is when we were doing very low fat. And so our bodies just did not respond well.
And so let's say we've been lifting for like 10 years. We've only been carnivore for like a year of that. I have gained more muscle in this past year than I did of all of those other 9 years. And I think largely due to like committing.
She's juicy.
I'm thick and juicy right now. Largely to like committing to be in a caloric surplus for such a long period of time. But also the bioavailable protein and nutrients, I think, has really, really helped.
That's so cool. Yeah, I can testify. You guys are super fit. You're very strong, stronger than me probably in a lot of these lifts, which is not saying much because I don't lift like heavy stuff like that often. Okay, so you did coach for a bit, right? You kind of, I guess you have on and off with your health space experience, or tell us about that. Like, what have you done in terms of that?
Coaching?
Others? Yeah. How have you interacted with people who've come through your social and work with them?
I did my bachelor's in just overall health sciences, and then I got post-grad studies in integrative nutrition, and then I've been a certified personal trainer for a long time. So we've always had this interest of taking on nutrition and fitness clients, so like personal training online.
Okay.
And so we've worked now, that never really took a hold until carnivore actually. So we've taken on a lot of clients who we've helped either start or transition from keto to carnivore or just standard American diet to carnivore. And it's been a really interesting journey because I think that carnivore, in terms of like more and more people getting into it, is relatively new. And so it's not like I learned in my studies anything about carnivore, right? Like, no, my classes had said nothing about carnivore. They told me to eat more plants too. And so it's been a lot of N=1 with each client. So a lot of experimenting with each client to see what works best for them. And it's allowed us to learn a lot about this way of life because some people do better, way higher fat. Some people do better, way higher protein. Like your body is, the bio-individuality is real. And
I think we've learned a ton by coaching some people into carnivore that we wouldn't have learned if we were just doing it for ourselves.
Yes. So we've been able to take people through, you know, they need to lose X amount of weight or they need to gain X amount of weight. And so it's been really interesting. We no longer are taking on clients right now because we've got too many other projects going on
right now.
And too large of a client load where we like to keep it really personal. So what we're coming out with is a tool within the next few months that's going to really help as like a
carnivore experimentation.
Like it's going to help people experiment for themselves within the carnivore diet while making sure they're getting all their macros and their micros and everything. So that's a project we're working on. We'll share it with you. Very excited about it.
Nice.
But it came to that because we did so much experimentation with our clients and realized like people do need some assistance here. And it doesn't have to be that complicated, but we all are different. So it's worth experimenting.
Approximately how many clients would you say you've interacted with? Because I want to ask another question on after that, which is like, what are maybe the common 1, 2, or 3 things that people just, you almost always have to kind of go through with a person when they're transitioning to or having to adapt to this type of eating and that lifestyle?
Yeah, so I'd say we have worked with around 50 to 60 clients.
Okay.
And kind of our approach would be, we would always start them around a 70% fat, 30% protein approach. I think that's a good starting place. And then we would structure their total calorie load based on their current weight, their activity level, their goal. And then we would tinker like with the fat to protein ratio.
I think a common problem we saw when people would come to us is that they're either not eating enough,
under eating,
or they're like on one end of the spectrum. They're eating not enough protein at all for their goals, or they're eating just like way too much lean protein and not enough fat. So it's always about that balance. What percent of fat to protein is going to make them feel best and function best and be able to hit their goals? Like she said, we start with about 70%, but some people don't actually respond that well, and some people need a little bit higher fat. Like the Paleo Medicina approach, I think is 85% fat. So there's a large gap you can fluctuate with. We're never an advocate for low protein though. So that's the common problem we see is people going to carnivore, and then because people say eat to satiation, they don't end up eating enough. And then that can lead to metabolism problems, or that can lead to them losing too much weight if their goal is not to, like, if your goal is to, you know, lose fat and look leaner, you still have to maintain that muscle, right? So you still have to eat a sufficient amount of protein. And so what you see is people atrophying, losing their muscle because they're not eating enough. And so there's two sides of that spectrum.
Yeah, and some clients would come in saying like, hey, I love the protein to energy model where they claim like, let's just eat protein to satiety. So we would experiment with them and say, okay, we'll do a high protein approach and we'll experiment. And what we found is that males do a lot better job with that. That works well for males, and it seems like they can get tighter a lot faster, they can lose weight faster, and they don't get hangry. Females, on the other hand, it can lead to some binge issues and some problems. And so we've noticed, hormone issues. And so we've noticed that typically with the females, fat cycling is something that would be super important and applicable, not just staying in this very moderately low fat, high protein approach for an extended period of time.
So what she's saying is like, if you're a female and you're trying to lose weight, don't just consistently for weeks at a time go low fat. Instead, take an approach for maybe 4 or 5 days out of the week you are at your lower fat macros, and then fat cycle in a higher fat day, just to kind of like give your hormones that little push, feel a little better, and then go back into the diet. So it's a similar concept if you've heard of carb cycling for normal people.
Yeah.
It's a good approach to help, especially with stalls too, because if you just keep eating low calorie, your body's going to adjust to that.
Yeah.
So these clients that you've worked with, are a lot of them fitness oriented? They're like looking to, or it could be a wide range of.
No, I'd say the main group of people that come to us would just say, okay, I went carnivore and I gained weight. I want to lose weight.
Gotcha.
And that just shows calories matter. I know a ton of people crap on calories and say, no, calories don't matter. They do. They're not the only thing, but if you're eating in a caloric surplus, if you're eating more calories than your body is burning, you are going to put on weight. So we definitely help with caloric control on one end. And then we have some clients who were already lean and were interested in more of like the performance optimization. So like, how can I maybe implement some targeted carbs, or how do I perfect my macros for performance optimization? And then we did have a few clients who came to us that were pretty sick and were looking for some healing as well. So we kind of took a little bit higher fat approach for them.
Yeah, but even with the ones that do go to carnivore and start gaining weight, you really need to analyze, like, are you actually putting on muscle? Like, are you working out too? Because you might, for the first time in your life, be eating bioavailable protein in sufficient amounts, eating so much muscle meat that you might actually be putting on muscle. So you have to kind of analyze what's going on. You might not. I know Kevin Stock mentions this a lot, and he has this whole example of like, there's somebody who comes to carnivore and gains weight even though they didn't mean to, but they need to heal. And so maybe your body is just finally absorbing those nutrients, and say you're dealing with some sort of autoimmune condition, you're going to hold on to more because you need those nutrients to heal. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to lose weight. Or to gain weight. I wanted to clarify on that.
And honestly, that's something we don't talk enough about. Perhaps my carnivore experience would have been different if I would have come to carnivore to lose weight, but I came to carnivore and I gained 11 to 12 pounds. And like, I've never felt better in my life right now. And I think that has really led to a positive experience for starting my carnivore.
We're all different.
Yeah.
So it's body composition, right? Like getting rid of those chubby, those chubby love handles and just getting healthy metabolically.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Body recomp is definitely possible.
Oh, I think so.
So I'm curious with females, fat intake, so I have a couple friends who've gone keto, and I try to push them to carnivore because I just think there's so many triggering plant foods in the keto space, and they just do better off. But for me personally, I had kind of what you had, Sarah, with the gut issues, and like that was my transition into carnivore, and I had to learn to eat like suet and the raw fat. I couldn't just do like liquefied Epic brand tallow melted into my bacon, and that was just like a disaster pants thing, you know.
That's how we started.
Disaster pants.
Rendered fats.
They're rendered fats, right? It's so challenging. But then you go to the supermarket and what do you see? You see bacon, you see like jars of Epic brand tallow, and like you're like, oh, these are animal fats, I should eat a lot of these. And then you eat them and you get a ton of gut issues, and it just becomes this challenge. I can't remember where I was going with that. What I was going with is, so if you want to get lean, if you're someone who's listening to this and you want to get kind of cut in terms of like, you still want to maintain your muscle or maybe even build some muscle, but I know this is going to be it's probably more specific question, but the general rule, when I have friends who've gone keto, they feel like they lose a lot of weight, but I think it's because they're eating at a deficit more than anything, because they're just eating some really filling, caloric dense foods, but then they'll find that they'll have lower energy at points. And I often tell them, like, you're not eating enough fat. Like, you're just way too short on your fat, because it's so hard to get like enough fat calories and also manage the gut issue thing if you're, dealing with keto fats and like the traditional plant-based stuff. Do you notice that too? Like, are you?
So every single client that we work with, we say, you guys have to do us a favor. You need to go find some raw beef suet, some raw bone marrow, or some good pastured eggs. I think that having those good raw animal fat sources are like critical to someone who is interested in getting more energy or gaining more weight on the carnivore diet, because you ultimately need a higher fat approach to accomplish that. And if you're I started carnivore with, I used to call it ghee hats. So I would like put spoonfuls of ghee on top of my meat. And then I would like scoop up all the rendered bacon fat. And perhaps that is why I went 21 days without pooping when I first started carnivore. Since I have really stuck to the raw animal fat sources, and like my energy and my digestion is like significantly better.
Yeah, I think that what you said about people who, you said these people are more keto, you're saying?
Yeah.
Their energy's low.
Yeah, they get keto and they lose all this weight, and then but they also kind of feel they feel decent energy, but I've noticed, like, I just think my feeling tells me like these people are not eating enough fat. They're not getting enough fat like absorbed in their body.
Yeah, I think that especially if you're coming to keto, one of the benefits should be just increase natural levels of energy and reduce brain fog and feeling better throughout the day. And so something is not going right. Perhaps they are being kicked out of ketosis, or if they're maybe, like you said, prioritizing the more filling, like low carb vegetables, it could encourage them to not eat enough fats, like you said. So they're getting their cauliflower in and they're staying under the 20 gram or 30 gram carb threshold, but they're not hitting enough fats to feel good. That is a problem.
Also, if they're switching into keto, their body may be a little bit confused on which fuel source to use. And so I think a good starting point when you're transitioning into keto would be to start with a very high fat percentage, because then you can tell your body, listen, use fat for fuel. Don't use the carbs for fuel. So they could almost like, from going from a carb-based approach, they could take a higher fat keto percentage approach and then maybe decrease their fat percentage a little bit as they transition into fat adaptation.
I think that, so one thing I want to mention is, like, now I'm reflecting back on when we were keto, and I think that there would have been a significant difference if we were an animal-based keto diet. We probably would have felt just fine.
Yeah.
Granted, we were still doing a lot of the vegetables. So if I could go back, I think that I would emphasize so much less trying to hit that 30 gram of carb cap.
Yeah.
So like, instead of shooting for the 30 grams of carbs, I would shoot for a higher fat and stop focusing so much on the carbs.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have been a lot better off, and I wouldn't necessarily have had to go to carnivore to see so many benefits.
Yeah.
Now, obviously reducing like the, getting rid of the broccoli and all like the toxins and the animal, all of like the toxins I was getting from the vegetables did some good for my body. But if I were to go back and just focus on the more benign sources, like, oh, I'm having some avocado. See, with avocado, sure, you're getting a little bit of carbs, but you're also getting some fat in. So I think there's a much better approach to take, is like an animal-based keto. If you're not interested in going full carnivore, animal-based keto, focusing on getting your raw fats in instead of focusing on getting so many low-carb vegetables in. Like, you just don't need the vegetables unless you're using them for being full. But that's a double-edged sword, like we were just talking about. So if I could go back, you know what I'm saying?
I'm like,
if we knew what we knew today.
I know.
That makes sense. Talk to me about your book, the Organ Cyclopædia. What is that all about?
Yeah, can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so when we first met you, because we met up because Paul, right? So that was when we first started working on our cookbook with Paul.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be an organ or
nose to tail.
It's a nose to tail cookbook. So of course there's non-nose to tail parts recipes, but it's heavily nose to tail because Paul's very nose to tail approach. And so we credit him for getting us into eating more nose to tail, because when we were challenged with making that cookbook, we had to go like full force, full hog, like start experimenting with everything. So we basically got every single different cut we could possibly try and just started making recipes. So that's how we fell in love with nose to tail eating.
Yeah, we were kind of forced into the situation, but when we were doing all these recipes, we started to realize, holy cow, when you take a nose to tail approach, you can get so many different textures, so many different tastes. This diet is the furthest from restriction you could ever have.
It was so much fun.
And so in that process, we started to like really just dive deep into, okay, what the heck is nose to tail and why is it important? So then we started to realize, like, wow, this is incredibly sustainable. Why would we let any of these parts go to waste? And oh, wow, look at the nutrients in some of these parts. And so I think experimenting in the kitchen and then like doing our own research on like, okay, what are the micronutrients encompassed in all of these things, just led us down this, like, we became obsessed, right? So we were like, we want to live and breathe nose to tail. Insert our book, Organ Cyclopædia. we just wanted to help others get into this way of life. And honestly, from the other, so flashback 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where we would just get all of our food from the grocery store and just not really think about where it was sourcing from or anything like that. It's a huge drastic change for most of America. And so this Organ Cyclopædia is kind of like a practical guide to getting you into nose to tail eating, which requires a slight mind shift, right? Like, wow, I'm eating a pig ear right now or something like that. And so in this book, we provide maybe a few reasons why you should eat nose to tail. And then we cover over 20 different odd parts. We cover their taste, their texture, their macronutrients, our favorite way to cook them. So it's kind of like a push to someone like, here, let's help you get into nose to tail. And hopefully you can fall in love with it as much as we do. And in the end, we share over 20 frequently asked questions that we would get, such as like, are you going to overconsume vitamin A with liver? Is there a concern for that? Or do I have to worry about iron in chicken bones? And then at the end of the book, we provide 4 starter recipes to get you started in the nose to tail cooking. And then our cookbook with Dr. Paul Saladino coming out in a few months will be over 150 recipes. We have those recipes done, and that is taking your nose to tail game to a whole other level.
Yeah. Nice. That's amazing. So what she said. Okay. Where can people find that? Is that on a website?
So right now that's on Amazon. So we'll provide you the link for that.
Okay.
So if you can get hard copy or Amazon Kindle
or a PDF version.
No more PDF. Version. Just Kindle or hard copy.
Okay.
She's
sorry, I'm out of the touch.
Amazon, and it's called the Organ Cyclopædia.
Yeah, so it's funny. It's like ORG, and then it's that square bracket, AN square bracket, Cyclopedia. And like Amazon
Encyclopedia. Okay.
If you don't include the square brackets, Amazon won't find it.
You gotta change that.
Don't do that for your book title.
We'll definitely link it in the video.
Okay.
And you said you're working on something. Can you talk more about that? Is it like a tool or is that secret?
A little secret.
Okay. We can edit this out too if we have to.
That's okay. Tool is fine. It's a tool.
We've been working on it since August of last year. So it's a big project.
We really love helping people. And we really, basically, if you become our client and you stick around, you'll become like our best friend.
We put a lot of effort into it.
It's just really hard to work with so many people at once because we put a lot of time into each person. So we were like, okay, how can we help more people without the one-on-one aspect? And at a certain point, you have to start charging for your time, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people can't afford one-on-one coaching. How can we help those people who don't have a larger budget with their macros and their micros and all the questions they have about carnivore?
Okay.
So basically, it's a tool.
Just stay tuned.
It's a tool to help with that. It's like kind of having a virtual coach, but without having to like give your entire paycheck each month. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think so.
We'll talk to you behind the scenes,
We'll talk offline. We'll keep it under the hood. Very cool. So, man, I guess so many things, but what do you have planned for the rest of the year? What do you got? You guys are going to White Oak Cello. You guys are kind of like the spearheads of that. Like you.
Are you going?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'm bringing my mom.
Oh, of course. Oh,
yes.
duh.
Our moms are going.
So to anyone listening, if you guys are not signed up for White Oak Cello, there will be a link in the description below. Kurt, I'm going to make you put a link in the description below. It was an incredible, last year was the first event and it was incredible. It's a celebration of regenerative agriculture and everything that regenerative agriculture is doing to the soil and the environment. We all hang out at White Oak Cello with all these like-minded individuals, all these amazing carnivore people. You hear about everyone's journey, their stories. So much fun. Plus, the best meat in all the land.
Oh my God.
So there's 3 all-you-can-eat feasts throughout the weekend, and so you guys just better be there. It's gonna be this year is gonna blow last year's out the park.
We'll bring copies of our book, and you should bring copies of yours.
Yeah, for sure.
You should.
I have my neighbor right next door from me is going. He and me and Paul and Kyle Kingsbury. I don't know if you guys have met him. We're all going. So all of us are going. I'm bringing my mom. I think my neighbor is going to bring his mother.
We're bringing our mom.
Yes. So
bring your mamas.
Bring your mamas.
Bring your mamas. So how do you guys are so busy. I feel like, it's not exhausting, but like, I don't know. For me, keeping up with like my IG story, it's like I just do not, I don't know how you do it. Like, how do you do that? You have literally stories that are like so entertaining and engaging every day. Like, what is is it just a tag team thing? Like, you're on Ashley, you're on Sarah, like you have to do it today, or how do you do that?
We do tag team, but like I meant what I said when I said when we came to Carnivore, our lives changed and we had to share it. It's not a task to us. It's like literally I wake up, I'm like, I gotta tell like everybody how I'm doing today. And I think it's just once you experience such a life shift where you didn't even want to wake up at one point in your life because nothing that exciting was happening and you felt like crap, to waking up and feeling great and being excited for your day.
Every day is a great day.
It's a huge change. And so many people in our generation are experiencing that, like, oh, here I go again, 9 to 5, I'm waking up.
Living for the weekend.
I got to eat my oatmeal first thing or else I'm going to feel like shit. It's like,
mounds of coffee, let's go.
We just need to just keep spreading the message that like life doesn't have to be that way. And so yes, it is tiring sometimes. I'm sure you know, creating a lot of content, and now we're vlogging every single day. It's a lot, but we have such a greater mission where we just need to share this with people that it's like we know why we're doing it. And keeping that in like the forefront of your brain, like, why are you doing this? You're helping people. You have to keep doing it. Is like that's what keeps us going.
So I'm gonna be honest, it is hard, especially balancing with trying to finish my degree, which I should be defending within like 5-ish months, hopefully. So to be honest, Sarah takes a lot of the roles. She really does. Sarah puts a lot on her shoulders because I have to prioritize certain things. So I'm looking forward to when but it is hard, but like she said, it's something that we enjoy sharing and it's something that we're so passionate about, so it doesn't feel like a chore.
So I would say mindset is huge.
Yeah.
We've especially coming to Carnivore, we've completely switched our mindset on things. We are very positive. We have a no negativity rule. Like if anybody comments something negative from now on, you're blocked.
Shoo.
Goodbye. I can't handle you.
And this is how we view it. So everyone has a limited size coffee mug, right? So every single day, we need to make sure that coffee mug is filled with creation. And
we don't consume.
There's no room for consumption. No room.
I'm sorry, because I don't know what you're up to. Because I gotta tell you.
Consumption causes mental energy, and a lot of the times consumption will lead to negative mental thoughts. And so there's no room for consumption.
If you're
what we do allow is engagement. So we fill our cup with creation and we sprinkle with engagement, and that is all that there is room for.
Yeah, I love
how can you guys are commenting on everything. I always see you commenting on everybody's feed. That's impossible.
No. So so whoever we're following right now, they're good friends. And so it's okay. If we're tagged in something, I'm like, okay, I know them, I'm gonna comment on it. So that's how we
also have 4 thumbs.
We've had to get into a routine because when we say we don't consume, it means I don't scroll mindlessly. When we engage, we're engaging with our friends, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So
you're really engaged with the community.
Yeah, because they're freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And so just one last thing on the mindset. So like we said before coming here, we were depressed, had anxiety. That's significantly changed. And so we're operating at a higher level. Nope, sorry, Gus. Our dogs keep us positive and happy.
Yes.
But then also every single day we wake up and we say, hey man, it's going to be a great day.
It's going to be a great day.
And then we say, all right, for that farm, it's FTF. So our ultimate passion is to have a regenerative farm within the next year. So every day we wake up, we're doing it all for that farm. So keeping your end goal in mind that's key. Sorry, that was a very long answer.
Okay,
no,
I'm going to add something too. And if anyone has ever
sprinkle it on.
Exactly. If anyone has ever had negative thoughts about things hey, why am I doing this? I am behind and I can't put up with I can't compete with these other accounts, I'm being silly. I always practice visualization, and so it's a good practice of why you're doing something. So for example, my visualization this morning was, I'm not even kidding you, I was imagining myself sitting in a field with baby goats, taking pictures of the baby goats it's everything's for that farm. We want to have
So
that
while
farm.
she's doing that, I'm taking pictures of her taking pictures of the goats.
Yeah, it's fine.
For that farm.
I love it. Okay. We're almost done here. What are a couple things that you would impart? So these are like kind of wisdom things that I love. Do you have practices? Let's start with you, Ashley. What are like maybe one or two things you do every day? And then Sarah, we'll kind of shift to you. But like, what are like one or two things you do? Try to tailor it. Like, what are two carnivore things you would do every day? Or like, what are some like mindsets that you approach with the carnivore lifestyle?
Okay. So like, I think visualization is very powerful. But I think in terms of carnivore, do you mean like routines?
Anything. If you had to say like to yourself, I'm going to go on the carnivore diet, and you had to give yourself some wisdom, whether that was, I have to visualize doing this to stay on it, or I have to eat a certain food, like what would be like one or two things that are kind of catch-all that you might do to give yourself wisdom?
Okay. Everyone has to find a carnivore diet approach that works for them. There's no one size fits all. So I right now feel like I have really found Ashley's carnivore diet. And that's what makes it a way of life for me, because it is sustainable. Kurt has Kurt's carnivore diet approach. He takes carnivore in a way that is sustainable to him. Don't try to copy exactly what someone else is doing. Everybody is so different, and the carnivore diet and way of life is there's so many options and how you can approach it. So don't feel like really bogged down in one specific way. Find an approach that works for you. If you like incorporating chicken and seafood and all these other animals, incorporate all of those. You do not have to do beef only. We see that a lot in the community. So finding that variety and that approach, if that involves adding an avocado or a little bit of carbs every once in a while, I think that's totally fine. Find the sustainable approach that works for you.
I have two. So my first one would be to do a little bit of research. So kind of get an understanding of why carnivore works and what's going on under the surface. So whether that's like understanding the removal of plants, how powerful that can be, because somebody is going to ask you. And so what can happen if somebody asks you and you have no idea what to say, suddenly you're going to start questioning yourself, and you're going to start like feeling like, oh, a little insecure, like, oh, I actually don't know what I'm doing. So do a little research yourself, and then
be prepared
and have references to point people in. So, oh, check out Kurt's book about carnivore. Know where to point people, right? Second thing is to just be really confident and own it. Like if somebody has a different opinion, say, oh, that's great, but I do, like, this is why I'm doing this. Know why you're doing it, and just be really confident about it. You're going, like, for whatever reason, our Instagram feed, the plant-based movement is pushing vegan posts on our feed. So all I see in my news feed is like plants, smoothies, plants. So of course here I feel in the corner like, oh God, like I'm really weird. Like I'm a minority. Yeah, we are a minority. Own it.
You're gonna be hit at all different angles by family, friends, doctors, and other things. And so really
just be confident. Yeah.
You guys know that quote by Drake where it's like, if you don't have haters, you ain't popping?
Exactly.
It's like,
you want to be popping.
Yeah.
I didn't say that right. I kind of butchered it, but it's something like
I wouldn't know.
You gotta be you gotta be popping. If you don't have haters, you're not popping. So that's awesome. Okay, cool. How do people at Strong Sistas on Instagram? That's kind of like the main where I would send people if they want to get more in touch with you too. And then you have your YouTube channel, and you have your book, Organ Cyclopædia, with the AN. I guess you're going to fix that somewhat maybe, but either way, Organ Cyclopædia. Is it authored by Armstrong? Is that what, could they say Armstrong and search that way too? Sarah and Ashley Armstrong, or?
Armstrong. Yeah. So our Instagram is @strong.sistas.
Okay.
Our YouTube is strong.sistas, and we vlog every single day. Our website is fancy. It's armstrongsisters.com.
We're proper there.
Okay.
So those are kind of the three main ways to find us. We just started a cool community on our website, and so it kind of functions as like you can ask any question there, and other people can pitch in. So it's almost like a Reddit strictly carnivore community on our website where we can answer people, other people can provide their experience and tips and stuff.
We were just getting so many messages of on our Instagram of like very good questions, and we were just like, it's sad that it's hidden in these messages. So we're opening up this to this community.
So there's a lot of different places. I would just start, like you said, with the Instagram and go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question. Where is the farm going to be? Is it going to be in central Illinois?
It'll be in Southwest Michigan.
Southwest Michigan.
Because that's where our parents will be retiring, and we can't imagine a life not close to them. Mommy and daddy.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. Yeah, I've actually been out here in Austin. There's a Rome Ranch. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
You went there with Paul and...
Yeah, I went there with Paul and a bunch of the guys when we were coming back. I've been there again. I took my mom and we went there and we did a bison field harvest. And
awesome.
I keep in touch with Taylor and Katie, the owners, and yeah, they've got some really cool stuff. There's a restaurant here in Austin called Die Dewey, and they're partnered with Force of Nature Meats, which you may or may not see. They provide the bison meat for them. And Jesse, oh man, what's his name? Robbie is their like partner in that. And so they're like all in the co-ops here. We're lucky in Austin. We have like a really good movement for that. But man, it's so cool to get into farming. That's like really exciting. I feel like you guys are like so passionate about that. And you're going to eat your own meat. You're going to eat your own food. You're going to have your own animals. It's going to be insane. It's going to be like life-changing.
It really will be.
That's so cool. And are you going to make it into like a White Oak thing, like a really big, like commercial thing? Or do you want to just kind of like keep it yours, or you don't know?
I think that
we'll sell online, but
our main passion is like, we want that lifestyle for myself, and I want my kids, I want to have kids to grow up in the soil, right? And so I need to get back to that first, and then we'll go from there. Definitely provide for our community, and then sell to our community online.
We'll never get to White Oak scale, and that's
huge,
and that's fine.
And like, I don't want to manage that much. Like, kudos to Jenny and Will, but like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big operation. That's a lot of business to take on. Cool. Well, Sistas, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I know you guys are super busy, so I feel honored to have you on this. And I know my audience is really going to appreciate it.
I can't wait to see you again.
Yeah.
The White Oak Cello.
Soon. So soon.
The legendary Strong Sistas. They are incredible influencers in the carnivore community, and they have just been a beautiful influence in the space. They've brought open and really brought to light the regenerative agriculture movement. They have dreams of opening their own farm and creating their own farm. If you've never heard of the Strong Sisters, you gotta go check them out. I put the information on where their social and their website are in the link description of the video. And go check out their book. It's Organ Cyclopædia. It's on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle, or you can get a hard copy. And then also check out their website and see what they're working on, because they've got some really cool stuff. If you like this content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment. If you're new to the Carnivore Diet, go download our book, go get our book, the Carnivore Diet book. I spent 4 months writing this thing. It's awesome. It's a great introduction into how to do the Carnivore Diet, why it works, why it's not going to kill you, why it's going to be probably the best thing you've ever done, a really powerful ancestral reset, and there's links in the description for that as well. Talk to you soon, and thank you so much. Let's get optimized.